What is going on, guys? The Inside Loop podcast, and today we have a Giants preview against the Dallas Cowboys. We are in week 2. Both teams are 0-1. The Giants, of course, losing 21-6 against the Commanders, and the Philadelphia Eagles getting the better of the Dallas Cowboys. We are going to break it all down, but before we get into it, don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 400 subscribers, gaining a bunch of new followers as well, so welcome to the new guys, new fellas. We're here. We're talking Giants football today, and we have a lot to break down for this preview video because, I mean, it can't get much worse than last week, right? The Giants did not play a good game against the Washington Commanders in a winnable football game. The Giants were in it for the entire game. I mean, down 14-6, but the offense could not get it done. I do think that the Commanders' defense is better than the Dallas Cowboys. And another thing, too, is they're out. No Jerome Bland. Obviously, no more Micah Parsons, too. And, I mean, Micah Parsons was a lethal threat to the Giants' offensive line. And that's no more. He's on Green Bay. The Giants will take on the Green Bay Packers later on in the year. And I see that as such a great thing for the New York Giants, is that now you see that Dallas, who is really their bright spot outside of Trayvon Diggs on this defense? This offensive line better protect Russell Wilson this week, or else I got to see a lot of major changes. Obviously, the weapons need to be better. Darius Slayton played a bunch of that football game, had one target, no catches, and you're paying him a decent amount of money over the next few years that you need to see him get some catches and be that deep threat that he is. And Wan'Dale Robinson, he had an ankle injury. I believe he's still good to go. And also, I don't need to see Wan'Dale Robinson getting kick returns. I don't need that. I want him just being my slot guy, my wide receiver, and I want him to be, impactful, right? I think he had some good and some bad. Obviously, the run after catch is something that I wanted Wan'Dale Robinson to be. But he has not been that, in my opinion. If you're going to catch the ball 7 or 8 times, I don't want it for just 50 yards. I want it for, 80, 90 yards. But we need to see Wan'Dale Robinson unlock that new trait to his game. I know he can catch the football. I know he could be shifty. But I need to see a little bit more out of him. Malik Neighbors, I know what I'm getting out of him, obviously. He is obviously probably going to be on Trayvon Diggs a lot. So we'll see how that matchup goes. But Dallas, I think a lot of people had very weird expectations for this team because they traded away Micah Parsons just before the start of the season. CeeDee Lamb is very good. They traded for George Pickens. So they've made some moves, right? I don't think their offense is the issue for their team. I think it's their defense. And I think if you could run the football very well with Tyron Tracy, Scatterboo, and Singletary, I expect all 3 of those guys to be used. I think that you can see very good numbers and score your first touchdown. The Giants did not score a touchdown last week. I believe they were the only team that didn't do that, but I'd have to check back the scores. There was some crazy stat, like they were the only team, I think, who didn't score a touchdown, or one of them, which is not good. Under the Brian Dable era, week 1s have not been good to him outside of 2022 when they beat the Titans. But you're taking on Dallas, and Dallas is a team that has obviously gotten the better of you. Them and Philly have really had, your name. But you have not been able to beat the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas in a very long time. And especially against Dak Prescott. But, the thing is that I do like about this game is I believe there's an opportunity to get better, right? Things cannot get any worse, in my opinion, than what happened last week unless you get shut out and Dallas puts up 40 against you again. That's the only way things can get worse, and then that makes Brian Dable's seat a lot hotter. But I do want to talk about this with Joe Shane and Brian Dable, and the quarterback situation, right? That is what we're going to get into now. You have to give this team some time, right? I know they've been in tenure since 2022, but I look at everything around, the circle of GMs and coaches. Who is out there that they're going to fire and view it as an upgrade over Brian Dable? That being said, Brian Dable, last few seasons have not been very good, and especially because you brought him in to improve this offense, and the offense has been in the bottom half. Now that does the big reason for that is because your offensive line has been terrible. Even ever since they've taken over, there hasn't been really many steps forward because you have been very reliant on Andrew Thomas to be healthy. He has proven that he cannot stay healthy for a lot of the season, right? JMS has been a project that needs a lot of development, right? Greg Van Roten is old. He is 35 or 36 years of age. John Runyon, I viewed as a panic signing, in my opinion. Like, they had to make a move for guard, and he was there. So they made that move. Right tackle, Jermaine Illuminor is good, right? And, one of the biggest changes I want to see them make this week, I don't expect it to happen, but move Jermaine Illuminor to left tackle, assuming Andrew Thomas is not good to go. I don't expect him to play this week either. If I had to take a guess, I would hope around week 4, week 5, which makes a little bit more weeks for recovery, because you want to have Andrew Thomas not at 90%, 91%, 80%. You want him at full Andrew Thomas mode. But getting back to it, I want Marcus Bow at right tackle this week, and I want Jermaine Illuminor moving over to left tackle. Your guards are your same, with Greg Van Roten, JMS at center, and John Runyon at left guard. Obviously, the offense cannot be operated with no offensive line. We know that. I mean, you look at any good, even average offense, they have a decent line, and they're able to score points consistently and not, be in panic mode on third down. I can't see that 2 weeks in a row. I need to see improvement, right? When you're on first down, second down, I want to make sure that we are not, killing ourselves on third down. The thing is, too, is it wasn't like your offensive line was taking a ton of penalties where it's like, all right, we're second down and then we get a false start or we get a holding call. No, you had 6 penalties last week to Commanders' 12. So you are a disciplined football team, but good teams, take advantage of those errors, right? So, there's that. Our keys to victory as we wrap this up, if you know something about our previews, they are not going to be 20, 25 minutes long. Those are going to be more of our recaps and other type of videos, right? We get straight to the point on our, on our previews. But getting off to a fast start, I mean, the Giants under Brian Daboll have not been a first-half team. We have known that, that's not something new, right? Where all of a sudden they have a bad first half. They have not been able to play good in the first half, and they are behind the 8 ball every single game. You got to block better, right? I think the biggest thing is protecting Russell Wilson and, not turning the football over, which he did not do. It was just he didn't have a game where you look at it and it's like, man, Russell Wilson looked good. He did not look good in week 1. I know Giants fans are already calling for Jackson Dart. I think it's too early. I think you have to understand the situation. You throw any quarterback under that offensive line, you're getting pretty similar production, right? I mean, Jackson Dart in the preseason looked good, but you also have to look at the competition that he was going against. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad football player, but you do have to understand the situation because I see all these analysts like Jackson Dart's got to start week 2. Russell Wilson is old. He's washed. All of that. I get that. He was not good in week 1. He's had a good history against the Dallas Cowboys, 5-1 in his career. Maybe we get to 6-1. And a lot of things change when you're 1-1 over 0-2, right? I mean, when you're 1-1, you do have a little bit more flexibility, but if you're 0-2, then you have to win, right away, right? You can't go to 0-3 and then 0-4. I get your schedule is difficult, but teams that have that fight and that grit are going to win games in those scrappy battles. Week 1 was a scrappy, non-disciplined, sloppy game. Right, if you ask Brian Daboll and Dan Quinn, both of those coaches cannot be happy about their team's performance. Right, obviously Brian Daboll a lot more pissed off than Dan Quinn. The other thing too is a lot of things do kind of favor the Giants. Injuries, right? no Deron Bland. This is an injury, but no Micah Parsons. And you look at this team, they are under a first-year Brian Schottenheimer. You can beat him. I do believe that. I do believe he called a good football game against the Eagles, but I do think the Giants can win week 2. I do, because they have a lot of talent. Shane Bowen has to be much better. You have to have Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns on the field as a group together a lot more. And you got to be blitzing more. Not more of this just cover 3, let's run zone. I want to see guys getting to Dak Prescott and forcing the Dallas Cowboys backwards. Not, okay, we're not going to pressure, we're going to play zone, and we're going to, turn 2nd and 19s into 3rd and 2s. That can't happen. Shane Bowen has not had good play. You can't even make it the excuse about the personnel, because I don't think the personnel is that bad. But here's the other thing. You're going against Dak Prescott, who has had a great resume against the New York Giants, right? 13-2 as a career against the Giants, 29 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,900 yards, and a passing rating over 100. Dak Prescott has not lost to the Dallas Cowboys since 2016. That's when the guy was just in the league starting out. I mean, he's looking for his 14th consecutive victory against the New York Giants. We can't let that happen, man. We got to find a way to finally figure out Dallas, and that is what we need to focus on. The last thing I did kind of touch on it, Jackson Dart cannot start right now. He does not change the football team. He is in the same exact boat as all of the other quarterbacks because that's their offensive line and their weapons haven't done much outside of Malik Neighbors. Their offense needs to be better. They need to run the football better. I want to see Scatterby in there a lot more. I want to see this team have 20 to 30 carries this week. I mean, they only had 15 for 30 yards. Like I said, I want to see Bell back in, not running wide receiver routes. I want them blocking. But that is really all I have for the Giants vs. Cowboys recap. Let me know your guys' scores below. Who do you think is going to win? Is it the New York Giants or is it the Dallas Cowboys? But anyways, guys, that is going to wrap it up for this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.